Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here, and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And I hope you guys are excited because we have some Cardano ADA news today. And I've been eating these freaking rice cakes. I don't know if you guys mess with that at all, but I'm loving this, man. I'm. You guys always say how much you hate it when I eat something on stream. But moving on, Cardano, this new bullish pattern holds big promise for recovery to $1. But we got more. Charles Hoskinson Cardano will have the same type of performance as Solana by the end of the year. But we have more. Cardano might be exploring options for token burning per latest report from IOG, but we have more. Uniswap, Cardano, and Solana emerge as the fastest developed assets, signaling huge network growth. And then there's two side notes, I would say. We have some news on MATIC, which I think is rather interesting. Is it enough that its 6-month low is behind it? And last but not least, Avalanche founder reveals why AVAX price is positioned for exponential growth. Alright, the majority of you guys are probably already aware that my Instagram, Twitter are both DDustTBC. Make sure you check them out and make sure you watch out so you don't get scammed. It's only the DustTBC, all right? No BBC, no the Dusty BS or whatever. All right, make sure you only check out these two. And on TikTok, it is DustTBC, not a D, only Dusty BC. In a recent interview, Charles Hoskinson, founder of IOG, the company responsible for Cardano's research and development, explained why June and October are going to be great months for Cardano ADA. Hoskinson's comments were made during an interview with Marco Monti Montegamino, the host of Inside Web, where when Hoskinson was asked about his 3 top priorities, he replied, "Right now, I would say commercial comparability, sustainability, and self-determination are the 3 biggest things that we are really working on right now. In terms of commercial comparability, we focused an enormous amount of effort in the beginning of the project on correctness and scientific excellence. So we developed all of these phenomenal protocols. This year, all these updates are coming that are massively improving the scalability and expressiveness of the system so that you'll get the same type of performance you're seeing from systems like Solana and so forth, or at least in the same orders of magnitude. Not only do you get all the security, the correctness, the resilience, and the great 3 million person community, but you also get the best of what competitors are bringing to bear." So I would say the most iconic part here is, of course, that Cardano's kind of actually jabbing at Solana. As we all know, they've gone down a couple of times, and I met up with the Solana team a little while ago, a couple weeks ago, and actually brought up the question of what are you going to do about it? And they say, well, that's the one thing we're working on the hardest to make sure that never happens again. Unfortunately, I couldn't get into a deeper conversation because we mistimed a couple of things, but I digress. June and October are going to be great months for us because those are the months where we're turning a lot of new features on in terms of improvements in Plutus, sidechains, pipelining, and there's some phenomenal applied research threads like Hydra. In terms of sustainability, you'd like a system that as it operates, it gets more efficient, more scalable, and has the ability to grow at an organic pace. And the system contains that same cost center and that standard of performance that you know and know to that you come to. My English is giving up today, guys. Remember, not a native English speaker, so cut me some slack. A performance that you come to know and love. Very simple. This means it's these things making my mouth, mess up. I swear, it's actually not even rice cakes. It's organic corn and quinoa cakes. Yeah, it is something. That means you need things like Mithril. And then self-determination, which is unique to Cardano and a few others like Tezos. We have a great governance layer. You hold data, you can vote, and you can participate in the governance of the system. Also, Cardano has its own treasury system. Like any government, it has the ability to print money, and as a result, you can use that to fund its development. So it's not just self-determination, it is also self-funding and self-bootstrapping. And if you're wondering about the total value locked to Cardano, he apparently said that there are many Cardano DeFi apps that are waiting for a Vasil Hard Fork Combinator event, which is expected to take place in June, and once that happens, we should see an even more impressive growth in the total value locked over on Cardano. And for the rest, I think we've already covered it a little while ago. It was basically about what the June and October hard forks were meaning. Generally speaking, these are major upgrades to Cardano that everybody should be excited for. And as I've also stated, it doesn't necessarily mean the price will pump just prior or so, but there's a good probability that if some even crazier advancements are made or it's quicker or anything like that, the price can have a little bit of an additional pump. Talking about pump, Cardano, this new bullish pattern holds big promise for a recovery to $1. Cardano price shows signs of coming around after months of downtrend. The 4-hour chart shows that ADA has formed a bottom reversal pattern, suggesting a new reversal in trend. Now, this is not completely true because what we're seeing here is they call it an Adam and Eve. I would just like to come in and say, well, this is a 4-hour chart for Cardano. Apparently, these are perpetual futures, and we're seeing here a little bit of February, a little bit of March. I find it hard to now grab this and say we have certainly bottomed out. We can, however, state, okay, we are not retaking the values which we saw in February, and we've actually literally basically bounced off of this specific 0.78 or so like that bottom like a dozen times. So there's a good chance we're going to reverse from here, which I guess I understand, but using this pattern is not something that I can honestly suggest to anybody. And you guys got to realize that Cardano right now even is still going to be following Bitcoin, but also Cardano's had a kind of like a separate journey where the advancements are not really what's pushing the Cardano price. It's most likely just the community seeing a little steps further, because remember, Cardano is pretty significant and pretty huge for the ideas, but in terms of actual deployment, in terms of how big they are currently, it's still relatively lacking. At least that's what the majority of us come to conclude. So in that sense, a lot of the community members have bought in those $3 phases, for example, for the idea of what Cardano is eventually going to become, which is happening to a lot of crypto, but Cardano is one of them as well. So do we really need crazy fundamentals? Should we really trust on this analysis right here? I wouldn't say so. I would personally more so put my faith in Bitcoin or some of the crazier underlying events / plans for Cardano. Pay close attention to the roadmap because I think that's a lot more significant. One thing I, by the way, have some confusion about is, again, we know about Cardano's self-determination. Again, remember, they're self-funding, self-bootstrapping, but apparently they also want to go for some token burning mechanism, which, again, I am not exactly sure how this is going to work or how they're going to think about that system, but it's something interesting to think about. Moving on though, if you guys enjoy these videos, make sure you press that like button. Uniswap, Cardano, and Solana emerge as the fastest developed assets, signaling a huge network growth. I just want you guys to actually understand here that cryptocurrencies are growing significantly. This is mostly showing the developers' actions or something in that nature, where Cardano usually is at the top of the top, at least one of the top parts of it all. At the end of the day, it's hard to account something to GitHub commits. It's not as if more commits is necessarily better, but usually it kind of is a correlation, or at least it has some sort of correlation, because you'll notice that the developers are working harder at it or just adding useless commits. And so why am I bringing that up? Well, because I'm not necessarily sure if there's a one-to-one with the price. We know there's a one-to-one with so this is showing the developer activity basically, so there's a one-to-one with development logically, but it's hard to say whether or not there's a one-to-one with the price, but there might be. So this is something we should keep watch on. The fact that Uniswap is significantly out there with the developer activity. Solana's doing really amazing, and Cardano's doing really amazing. Those are all top of the top. We should keep close eye on that to see if anything crazy changes, or if this is basically something we can use to develop or kind of gouge price or something. Then, MATIC. Oh boy, am I excited to talk about MATIC here a little bit. Man, I've been holding MATIC for a long while. I've told you guys a couple of times that it got scary when they went down for a little while, but the fact that MATIC went down for a little bit and the price hasn't just dumped to the freaking ground shows me it's resilient enough to survive almost anything. And I kind of believe it's in the same scenario as with ADA, where it's just retested that same bottom multitude of different times, which is at about $1.30 or something like that for MATIC. And I'm just always buying a set amount of MATIC every 2 weeks or so. Whenever I think about it, basically, I revert some of my assets into MATIC just for the longer term, as I think is one of the coins that is going to stay, at least as long as Ethereum is developing. MATIC will develop and will stay useful. And again, a very key part of that comes with the fact that the transactions are just a lot cheaper. I've had to claim some of the tokens I bought in pre-sales on Matic / Polygon, and it's actually so significantly cheap. For example, anything that has to do with V-Launch, right? Every interaction is freaking $20, $100, $70, $60. With Matic, for example, Costa and whatnot, anything you can most likely do for less than 5 cents or something like that. It's really nice. So here's a person who also kind of explains why AVAX is so fire. He actually names quite a significant amount of reasons, but I think you guys can think of some of them. Most importantly, he notes two. Here are all the reasons why AVAX is fire. Its token distribution is solid. It is capped at 720 million. 360 million of those were minted at launch. Another 360 will be released over 10 years. Transaction fees of every transaction are burnt. There is no loss of value due to inflation, and this is huge. Subnets are massive. Subnets are essentially mini blockchains that make up a larger chain, drastically speeding things up. Through subnets, anyone can create a custom blockchain to suit the needs of their apps, and each subnet can have their own token structure. This has been very attractive to developers. Big players like DeFi Kingdoms have decided to create their own chain powered by AVAX subnets. And we also heard this news recently that the Digital Pound Foundation is an independent forum supporting the implementation of well-designed digital pound. And again, AVAX connections are there. Alright, but that is it for today's video. Real quick on Cardano mostly, and a little bit on Matic and a little bit on Avalanche. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you press that like button and subscribe to the channel for more. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video soon.